Chapter 3 of Poppy Playtime got so many new updates with news on the upcoming trailer and its release day, a bunch of exclusive Chapter 3 gameplay updates that nobody has revealed yet, more info on the new mystery Chapter 3 character who I think I've solved already, and so much more. So starting off big, a brand new trailer for Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 is supposed to release before the month ends, and we got some news suggesting it could be coming extremely soon. As recently on their Discord server, a fan asked if the trailer was done, to which they actually responded saying no, the trailer is in the final stages of touch-ups though, along with other developers teasing that they were actively working on it, which gives us a ton of hope that the trailer is already almost done and we can expect it sometime in the super near future. Especially since these messages are a few days old now, so for all we know, the trailer could even be done. And the reason for this trailer taking so long, according to the developers, is because not only is it longer than the last Chapter 3 trailer, which was already nearly 2 minutes long, but recently they've also said that it's their longest trailer they've ever made. Which, if true, is absolutely crazy news, since their longest one currently is their Project Playtime cinematic trailer that came in at 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So this new Chapter 3 trailer could literally be as long as 3 minutes. Plus, in terms of the trailer's actual release date, the developers have told us that they aren't sure if they're going to release some sort of announcement or if they would just shock drop it on a random day. Meaning, by the time this video releases, the trailer could come out literally any second, so make sure to subscribe for updates the moment we get some news. But outside of the trailer, we also got a ton of news about what Chapter 3 is actually going to contain when we finally get to play it. As one of the developers was asked if the game was going to contain emotional or scary/intense chase scenes, to which they confirmed to us yes. And while of course we knew Chapter 3 would have chase scenes because that's practically what Poppy Playtime is known for, we've now heard the developers talk about there being emotional moments in the chapter multiple times, even saying in different interviews that it will make some players cry. So it seems like there could be some intense story-focused moments in the game, or maybe even something bad could happen to one of the fan favorite characters in the game, especially since somebody actually asked the developers if something would happen to Kissy Missy, specifically in Chapter 3, where the CEO responded with a sad Game of Thrones gif suggesting something is gonna happen to her, but we don't really know. On the brighter side, a few days ago, the developers actually held a podcast on the Poppy Playtime Discord server, where they actually answered a ton of fan questions about what we can expect from the chapter that most people missed. For instance, in my last video, we covered that the length of Chapter 3 was officially revealed to be around 3 hours for players on their first playthrough, but in this podcast I actually got to ask the developers how long it took to play the game after multiple playthroughs from an experienced player, and they told me the fastest person they saw play the game beat it in about 1 hour and 20 minutes, meaning even during replays this game is supposedly going to take well over an hour to play through at the absolute least, which is pretty insane considering Chapter 2 takes less than half of that on replay throughs. They also ended up telling us some other more basic info, like that the game will have just one ending, and that it'll also still follow a similar playstyle to Chapters 1 and 2, just with much more detail as we've already seen. But in terms of the lore and story for Chapter 3, we also got a ton of updates as well. For instance, the devs in podcasts have told us that this chapter would be the most lore-oriented of the entire franchise, which makes sense considering everything we've seen so far, and more specifically, I even got to ask them about the Chapter 3 ARG from last year, where we had to solve different puzzles to get mysterious codes and odd teasers that told a very vague story of the Chapter 3 lore. And I asked them if these teasers and photos mattered towards the actual game, getting the response, yes, to an extent. It's complicated, you'll see. Or in other words, all of the images and codes we got from the ARG weren't just fun gimmicks, but seemingly also matter to the Chapter 3 gameplay in some way, which really makes me wonder what all these images and codes can mean for the chapter, but that's subject for another video. We even got some minor Smiling Critters updates from the devs, as fans asked them if they were working on any other Smiling Critters cartoon episodes like the one teaser we got a few months back, with them again on their podcast unfortunately confirming that there is no second episode or anything like that in production for Chapter 3, which is pretty sad considering how cool the first one is, but they did say they were open to making more in the future. In a small Project Playtime update, I also got the chance to ask the developers developers. Are they developing or planning phase 4? Is that something that's already in development? Getting supposedly confirmed, yes, there is a phase 4 being developed, so expect updates to that game hopefully sometime soon after chapter 3, because at this point nobody really plays Project anymore and that game needs a revival. And they also posted some new behind the scenes of them filming the Bron the Dinosaur VHS tape from last year, which was apparently all done in a green screen, which is also super cool. But most importantly, last week the developers confirmed that there was a brand new female character coming into chapter 3 that hasn't been revealed to us yet. And this character's identity has been the biggest mystery to us yet. However, the developers haven't been completely silent, as we've gotten some minor updates on this character from the devs, like how some have said it is their favorite character in the entire game, while others like Amber, one of Poppy Playtime's artists, actually said she hated the character and also said they were very hard to draw for some reason. But perhaps most importantly, we also got one more hint from the developers on their Discord server that reads, I'll give you all one hint on the female character with how she is. It's something in relation to a specific character in Doctor Who, a sci-fi TV show. So now, laying out all of our information about this character, we know she's a female, who is liked by some but hated by others, is super hard to draw, and is related to a character in Doctor Who in some way. And looking at that last one more specifically, after searching through a bunch of characters in the Doctor Who lineup, the character that I think makes the most sense to me, and I think she is referencing, is the Weeping Angel, which represents statues of angels that would stand still when looked at but move when anybody looked away. And while this character is super popular in Doctor Who, the Weeping Angel style of character is extremely popular in horror game media. For instance, there's the endoskeletons in FNAF Security Breach or the coil head from Lethal Company, meaning that most likely whoever this mysterious female character is, they are probably going to work in a very similar way to the Weeping Angel if my theory is true. And I also think I figured out exactly what kind of character this is, because as I and many others have already pointed out, during Easter of 2023, we got a comic of Bunzo Bunny exploring the Playtime Co factory, proceeding to accidentally discover a squashed bird egg inside of it before falling to his doom from a trap and dying. And with this comic, the biggest question on our mind since has been, what in the world happened to this bird? And what in the world was it that caused Bunzo to fall down into this trap? While looking at the baby bird Bunzo crushed, it was still inside of an egg, implying that there was some sort of mother, a female character, who laid the eggs and probably didn't want anybody attacking her babies, yet we never see this mother in the comics defending her children like she should. So why is that? Well, in my opinion, I think it's because the bird's mother hiding in this comic is the mystery female antagonist in chapter 3. Since, like we had already lined, they are both unaccounted for mystery characters, are both female, and perhaps the most damning evidence of all is that, like we said, throughout the entire comic strip, we never see the female bird, not once. Not even to protect her own egg from Bunzo. And the reason for this is because, assuming my theory is correct, and this mystery bird is the secret chapter 3 Weeping Angel antagonist, we probably never saw her in the comics because, like Weeping Angels do, she only moved when Bunzo wasn't looking at her, likely working in the darkness and probably also setting up these flimsy wooden traps that Bunzo fell down in order to protect her babies while someone's around. We can also see in the final render that there are scratch marks on the wall that many people assumed were the prototype. However, we can see here Bunzo has pieces of his body picked out, meaning something, perhaps a hungry bird judged from these small peck-like wounds, ate him. And if you still don't believe me, this comic strip came out nearly a year ago with literally no purpose. And we know from all of the stuff the developers have put out that every single thing has a purpose of some sort. And I think I've solved it. This baby character is the baby of the next chapter 3 main antagonist, who, by the way, looks visually very similar to a vulture or other similar looking birds, which, if true, would explain why they were eating Bunzo. And also, while I assume that the one laying and protecting the eggs was the mother of the baby bird, there could very well be a father bird and all sorts of other birds in between, but at that point, we're overthinking it. But let me know in the comments what you think this character is, and if you think my theory is actually correct.